Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Salman Sheikh, and in this video I'm going to summarize databases in AWS. So firstly there is RDS. This is used for online transaction processing. It comes in 6 different types. We've got SQL Server, MySQL, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Aurora and MariaDB. We then have Amazon DynamoDB service. This is a NoSQL database server. We then have Redshift. This is Amazon's data warehousing solution, and this is used for online analytic processing. Then comes Elasticache. This comes in 2 flavors. We have Memcached and Redis. So Memcached is used if we want something very simple, where Redis is used for more advanced data types and if we need multiple availability zones, or if we need to be able to do backups, we'll use Redis. In terms of relational databases, just remember the following points. RDS runs on virtual machines, so you cannot SSH into their operating systems. You cannot log in, so you can't RDP using Windows, and you can't SSH using your Linux operating systems. Now, patching of the RDS operating system and DB is Amazon's responsibility because you do not get operating level access. Also remember that RDS is not serverless. However, there is an exception to the rule. There is Aurora serverless, and that is serverless. Now remember, there are 2 types of backups for RDS. We've got automated backups, and then we have our database snapshots. Moving on to read replicas. Now read replicas can be multi-AZ, and they are primarily used to increase performance. Just remember, in order to enable read replicas, you must have backups turned on. And read replicas can be in different regions as well as the same region. Now, read replicas can be MySQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle, Aurora. The only database engine that doesn't support read replicas at this time is SQL Server. Also remember that read replicas can be promoted to master, but when you do this, it's going to break the replication, or it's going to break the read replica. Remember that multi-AZ is used for DR only, that is disaster recovery. It is not used for performance. And you can force a failover from one AZ to another by rebooting the RDS instance. Remember that encryption is supported to MySQL, Oracle, SQL Server, PostgreSQL, MariaDB and Aurora. Encryption is done using the AWS KMS, that is Key Management Service. And once your RDS instance is encrypted, the data stored at rest in the underlying storage is encrypted, as are its automated backups, read replicas and snapshots. They are all also going to be encrypted as well. So DynamoDB is serverless. It is stored on SSD storage. It is spread across 3 geographical distinct data centers. You have 2 different types of consistency. Remember this. So you have got eventual consistency. So if your application doesn't need to read your updated data within 1 second, then you want eventual consistency, and this is actually what you get by default. If, however, your application needs that data to be updated and always have a perfect copy of the data, certainly within less than 1 second, then you probably want strongly consistent reads. Now moving on to Amazon Redshift. Redshift is used for business intelligence. So wherever you see business intelligence, immediately think of Redshift. It is available in only one AZ. When you are doing backups in Redshift, Redshift has backups enabled by default with a 1-day retention period. and maximum retention period is 35 days. So Redshift will always attempt to maintain at least 3 copies of your data, the original and replica on the compute nodes, and a backup in Amazon S3. Also remember that Amazon Redshift can also asynchronously replicate your snapshots to S3 in another region for disaster recovery. So remember these points. So now moving on to Aurora. Remember going into your exams that 2 copies of your data are contained in each availability zone with minimum of 3 availability zones. You always have 6 copies of your data. So you can share Aurora snapshots with other AWS accounts. And there is 3 different types of replicas that are available. You've got your Aurora replica, your MySQL replica, and your PostgreSQL replica. And automated failover is only available with Aurora replica. So remember this. Also remember that Aurora has automated backups turned on by default, and you can also take snapshots with Aurora. And you can share these snapshots with other AWS accounts. Then finally remember that to use Aurora serverless, if you want a simple, so you use Aurora serverless. If you want simple, cost-effective option for infrequent, intermittent, or unpredictable workloads. So remember this. If you have any of these or all of these, then use Aurora serverless. Next is Elasticache. So remember that you use Elasticache to increase database and web application performance. It does this by caching, as the name says. If you need multi-AZ, then you are going to be using Redis. Again, if you need backup, then you're going to be using Redis. And however, if you need to scale horizontally, you'll use Memcached. So that is it, guys, for this section of the course, database section. I hope you've learned few things, important things. Read this before going for your exam. And if you have any questions and comments, please feel free to leave it in the comment section. This is Salman Sheikh from Best Cloud Prep, and hope to see you in the next lecture. And in the end, I would like to acknowledge and thank Kronenberg Brothers from A Cloud Guru platform. If you have the funds and time, please visit their website and learn from the gurus of cloud computing. Thank you, and hopefully see you in the next lecture.